everyone. Today we are talking about the paranormal ritual, the Hooded Man. Now, I'm actually having to record this for a second time because apparently I hadn't hit record when I recorded. But I think I have a little better understanding of how you actually perform this now then. So hopefully it'll come across clear. So basically, this ritual is where you are calling a cab in order to travel to another world. It is fairly safe compared to a lot of these paranormal rituals. So I still don't really recommend that you perform it, but if you are going to perform one, this one isn't as bad. And my cat has decided to get on my lap. What you need for this ritual isn't much. You really just need 2 black cords, which they want you to have approximately be 1/2 meter long, and a phone. Now, it is best if you can use a rotary phone, but a smartphone does work as well. Although that is part of what I was a little unclear about in these steps, is how to do it with a smartphone versus a rotary phone. Now, starting warnings and precautions is they highly recommend that you perform a cleansing ritual within your home before and after this ritual, which you can do with sage or salt, or really any form of cleansing purification rituals that you would normally perform. And that if at any point during this ritual you feel threatened or stalked by an unknown presence, that you end the ritual immediately, because you are running the risk of allowing and binding in a entity to yourself. And this is a real issue that does happen. And there are ways to remove an entity once it is attached to you, but it's always easier to prevent that than having to remove it after the fact. It's also recommended that you shut all your windows and doors and close your curtains and turn off your light and electronic devices so that there's no light coming in. Now, obviously, if you're using your smartphone, you will have light from that. But maybe just turn the brightness down. Although now that I'm thinking about it, if you're using a rotary phone, you need some sort of light on in order to see the numbers that you're dialing. Whereas if you're using your smartphone, you would just have light from that. So that's a little unclear. I'm not sure how you're supposed to be able to see the numbers on your phone without any light whatsoever. So in that sense, I think it would be easier to do this with a smartphone. Although you are supposed to do a cleansing ritual before and after, you should not by any means carry on your person salt, crystals, or other forms of protection with you to the cab and other world itself. This is most likely because it will prevent these entities coming in from allowing you to travel through, or perhaps agitate them into killing you on the spot, because as we'll get to, this game does run the risk of you possibly dying. However, it's pretty easy to avoid that. So how do you play this game? First, you should be seated with your phone. Make sure that you are feeling calm and not agitated, scared, or nervous in any way. So if that takes you some time to clear your energy, do that before moving on, because these negative emotions will prevent you from completing the ritual successfully. Most likely, this will prevent the entities coming in, or else, if you get all the way to the cab, that is not going to be good for you. So you should count to 13, and at the last count, dial on your phone the following number: 204-96-888. Now, do not touch the handle of your phone while you are dialing. Now, it says to to tie the black cord onto your phone at this point. I'm not sure why you wouldn't do it before dialing the first number, since it then says you can hold the phone up by the cord and dial in the numbers, but it says to do so after you dial the first. Once you tie the cord onto your phone, you should then dial 255-15823 and leave your handset up, regardless of if the call actually went through or not. Now you should count to 13 again. And then it says place the handset back, which makes me think you should end the call. However, after that, then it says that you should say into the phone, hello, I need a cab. So you obviously need the phone up for that. And that's the thing that I was a little unclear about the first time I was recording this. And I'm still confused because you have your phone up because you just dialed a number, but then it says to put it back. But then you're talking, I don't know. That's what's unclear to me. But I think if you're using a smartphone, I would just put in the numbers each time. I don't know. Okay, so you say, hello, I need a cab. And then you would take off the first cord and tie on the second. Now, if you can, they recommend that you immediately burn the first cord so that you can completely sever your connection with the dimension that you have opened a portal to, which I do find weird because you're then going to go into the cab and go into that world. So why are you severing the connection before you go? Wouldn't it make more sense to sever that connection at the end? I don't really get it. But I guess maybe they just mean to sever the connection with your home because you've opened it up outside your home. I don't know. Doesn't quite make sense to me, but they say you can burn the cord afterwards and then cleanse it, which is what just I would do because I feel like burning the cord could prevent you from being able to continue the ritual. But then you should go open your curtains. And if you did everything correctly, the sky should be tinted some sort of color, and there should be a black cab parked outside your house. You should exit your house, lock your doors, go into the back seat of the cab, lock those doors, and allow yourself to fall asleep. Now, another thing that I accidentally skipped over is that you should bring a watch with you, but obviously not your smartphone. That needs to stay. So it should be, like a stopwatch or a wristwatch, because you want to know what time it is when you wake up. If you wake up at 3:30 a.m., then the ritual has gone correctly and you were able to go back to sleep, which you should do within a minute and a half. If the time has not changed, then you have not done the ritual correctly, and you should return to your house within 2 minutes and move on to the cleansing portion of the ritual. Now, if you went back to sleep because it was 3:30 a.m., you should wake up to find the cab being driven by a hooded man on a highway. Now, this is the actual ritual itself. You can keep riding in the cab as long as you want. I guess it'll move on from the highway into other sceneries. The longer that you ride, the stranger and more absurd, I guess, the world in which you are in will become. And it says it will be harder for you to leave. And no one knows where the cab will eventually stop or what will happen to you when it does. So it's not recommended that you stay in the cab for too long. Now, if you try to talk to the hooded man during the ride, you will fall asleep and wake up at your home. If you attempt to lift the hood off his head, you will also fall asleep and wake back up at your home. If you begin to feel panicked or try to get out of the car, you will die. And if at any point the cab stops or someone tries to get in, well, it's possibly still moving, you should not speak to them. If you do so, they will stab you to death. Now, as you said, you can speak to the man in order to wake up at your home, but the correct way to end the ritual is to tell him specifically, I have reached my destination. It's likely because that is telling him, hey, you have done your job. I'm done here, which is a way of saying, this is over and that connection. Now, once you do get home, you should go to the telephone and dial in the number 200082. Lift the handle, place it aside, and say thank you for the ride. Which again is a way of telling them, hey, you have done your job. You're ending this connection. And so if you had woken up in the cab and it was not 3:30 and you go back to the house to end your ritual, I assume you'd still dial this number and tell them thank you for the ride and then do your cleansing ritual. So like we said before, you should burn the black cord if you didn't do so before. Now I did say to do that with the first cord, but we also now called them back using the second cord. So I would think that you should probably burn both cords just to be safe. Once you've burned the cords, you should bury the ashes in like your backyard or other form of earth and cover it with salt. And that's really all there is to this ritual. As I said, see, there's not much danger to it. Yes, you could die, but that's only from basically being stupid and trying to get out of a moving vehicle, from feeling agitated, which I could see that happening, fairly easily without you meaning to, or talking to a stranger. But anyways, as these paranormal rituals go, it's more tame. But if you do play this ritual or have already played this ritual and have any experiences that you'd like to share, I would be more than happy to hear these in the comments below. And if you have a recommendation for the next paranormal ritual that you would like me to cover, let me know that in the comments as well. And until next time.